So I wanted to start with the format of the paper, and you have to follow this format or you will get marked down. So please keep, it's simple enough to follow. And it's it's a double space Times New Roman font 12. The cover letter, the cover sheet is on the Google Classroom. So please go and download it. It's on Word format. If you want it Pages format, I'm happy to send it to you. You have to use that, and then insert the right appropriate details in that cover sheet. And then references. We spoke briefly about it. You want to reference your work. You cannot plagiarize, and so whatever research you do, you want to include the references, and there's this format called the Chicago Tourbillon format. You can Google it. It's not that difficult to figure out. And if it's a book, it's just the author and then the title, and it's italicized, and then you have the city and the publisher and the year it's published and the page number you're getting your information from. If it's other stuff, you have to Google. I don't have it memorized. Like if it's a journal article or what have you, You cannot reference Wikipedia, please. That's just not something, I'm sure you know this, but. And please don't plagiarize. Please don't. It's grounds for dismissal. And as disciples, we shouldn't. Also, there is this sort of copyright stuff that you can take X percentage of something. I don't want that. I want you to read your source and then make it into your own, like formulate for yourself what that book or author is saying, and then reference the author. So you shouldn't have. I don't want you to, quotation like this author said quotation. I want you to put it in your own words. And so the idea is you're thinking what this person's saying, you're formulating, and then you're using your own words, but you're referencing the author whose work that you are quoting. Does that make sense? Yeah. The section of passage that you guys are going to be analyzing is Matthew 15 verses 1 to 9. You'll have 3 sections in your paper. An introduction, those are your main sections. Introduction, analysis, and conclusion. So you have to have Roman numerals 1, introduction, Roman numerals 2, analysis, and Roman numeral 3, conclusion. The introduction, a really quick point. So you're introducing your paper on Matthew 15, verse 1 to 9. So please don't say you're introducing the Gospel of Matthew, because you're not. You're just referencing that section of passage. And this is why we're picking it. So this is from the word study. So hopefully you'll get a little bit more out of it. Follow the steps of interpretation and observe the text. And what what I mean? Like just what I don't want to tell you what to write. But it's important that when you introduce a section of passage, introduce the passage you are analyzing. And then analysis. So hopefully this is very helpful. All the stuff we learned here, you're going to practice. So it can then really reinforce your learning. So under subheading, under analysis, so Roman number 2 analysis, subheading, its observation. And make at least 3 observations. If you want to make more, God bless you, I don't mind. I think the word size is 1,200 words. If you want to write more, I'm happy to read, as long as you're not just like babbling or something, like you're giving me a grocery list. But feel free to write whatever intelligible, not just whatever. But again, at least 3 observations. If you have more to make, that's great. And then compare Matthew 15 verse 1 to 9 with the corresponding in Mark chapter 7. There's a corresponding, this is the story that comes in Mark 7. And compare the two. This will help us for the New Testament survey. Then the second one is gaps. So under gaps, I want you to answer, who are the Pharisees and teachers of the law? Again, you can use reference material. I don't know if I have to say this, but you have to use reference material of those that are published authors and scholars and so on. You can't reference a Facebook post, for example. Even if it is by Michael Burns. You have to reference his book. But it has to be a published author. So who are the Pharisees and teachers of the law? And then the relevance of Isaiah 29 verse 13. As I said earlier, you want to really get a Hebraic worldview, read the New Testament and ask the question, how did the authors use and see the Old Testament in light of Jesus? So Matthew 15 references Isaiah 29. Please go back and read it and see what is Isaiah 29 saying, and then how is that being used in Matthew 15. Hopefully that makes sense. And then under context, is this a prescriptive or descriptive passage? Why? And then what is the immediate context? So if you want to know, you can read chapter 14, read chapter 16, try to find the immediate context. And for bonus points, what is the canonical context? Meaning, how does Matthew 15, verse 1 to 9 sit within the canon of Genesis to Revelation? Again, that's real bonus points. You don't have to do that. We will talk about that in the New Testament survey. Principle, so what is the timeless principle? What would you say is the center of gravity and why? Again, things we have done in the class. And then under application, I'd like you to do a 3C and 3D analysis of Matthew 15, verse 1 to 9. So again, how does this passage connect us to God? You don't have to do all 3C and all 3D. You decide. If you want to do all, that's fine. Or you can say, I want to focus on connection with God. That's fine. You decide. You make that decision. But what does this passage teach us about connecting with God? Connecting with each other, connecting with the mission. And the fact we use this in the word study, I think, would be helpful, hopefully practical. How should the church, again, how should the community apply this scripture or this passage? And then some reflection on your part. What's your personal reflection on Matthew 15, verse 1 to 9? And then the last is practice. How does this teaching, what's the teaching, rebuke, correct, or training in this passage? Jesus pretty much gives us that answer, right? You don't have to overthink that. And then how does this feed faith and grace? So basically what we went through, you're just doing that. You did that with the 1 Corinthians 11. You're doing this with this. And then proofread your paper, please. Have someone proof your paper, please. And it's due the midnight of May 1st. So please, my encouragement is do not start this April 15th. Start this tomorrow, please. Because this takes time to put together. And if you want a proof and so on, you can give someone on the last day of April saying, hey, can you proof it for tomorrow? I need to submit. So please just be mindful. If you do it in chunks, like small bits, it's not overwhelming or it won't be too much. So I suggest you please start tomorrow, and that way when you're not overwhelmed or scrambling on the 1st of May.
Is there a minimum number of references?
That's a good question. There isn't. I thought about that, maybe 3 or so, but I said I just want to leave it up to you. Okay. So you can decide how many you want to add, or how many you want to include. But please, rather reference than plagiarize. Because I also understand this may be the first time some of you are writing a theological paper. And so again, want to be supportive. So there's a method to our madness. We want to support you and help you. And then as the classes progress, you'll be, it's like taking the training wheels off. And so you'll definitely see the improvement next time you write a paper, and next time and next time. Does that make sense? So the first time theological paper can be, again, if you're not, that's awesome. If you're not intimidated and so on. But if you need some extra assistance, we're here for you. We want you to do well. We want you to grow. And this is not to trap you or to trick you or to, none of that. It's actually to help you thrive. That's why we're here. Hopefully that makes sense, And I'm looking forward to reading the papers. Your reflection papers were really good, I must say. I'm looking forward to getting your final paper. And hopefully it'll be a fun exercise for you. Let me ask, so I know, because I didn't study here, I studied in America, so I don't know the system here. Is that the system in South Africa that you inline the references in your papers, your official papers? Then whatever you are used to doing, please do so. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I just didn't know that. I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not going to go and minus those words. That's just too much work on my part. So whatever words you have, you have. You know, the hope is the heart behind it is you are looking into it. And I do understand different people have different kind of levels of interest and so on. So the point is not that, you know, being a stickler for that. The point is that you're really thinking it through and communicating what's there on the paper in an organized manner.